All right. How we doing, everybody? I got my boy Matt Vasgersian in the building. Hello, everybody. We would literally be teeing off right now, and Maddie would say, "Welcome to Sunday Night Baseball from Miami, Florida." Malachi, what's happening? Phil Hughes. I don't know if Phil Hughes is in the house. Coach. We will be joined by Matt Vasgersian, all the way from upstate New York. Born in Oakland. Maddie's done plenty of postseason and World Series games. One of the great voices in baseball. Has a big Brewers background. Brewers, Padres. Married to Kimberly. Has a beautiful family. And he is now, I'm sorry, New Jersey, not upstate New York. Kimberly, I've been corrected. Amy from St. Louis is in the building. Maddy is a dream to work with. He's funny as hell. He's got the best, salt and pepper hair. I am chasing you, buddy, don't worry. And guy works so hard and loves baseball and is funny as hell. I think he's a frustrated SNL writer or performer. I think that was one of his dream jobs when he was a young lad in Oakland, California, watching the Bash Brothers. Big Oakland A's guy. Bleeds yellow and green. Jason Dovitz is in the building. UFC, let's go. UFC is doing some great things in the gyms business all over the country. Adam, one of the great presidents, with Mark Mastrov in the house. Rock, my man from Philly, is now in Vegas. One of the great marketing minds. We have a good crew today. Maddie, I need you on. I've seen Kimberly, but when there he is. I'm too clueless to figure this out. I love it. Maddie should be coming on soon. There he is.
I don't know how this stuff works, man. I'm not as good on this stuff as you are.
Maddie, I love it, brother. You've been like one full week in Instagram.
Yeah.
You're on fire.
Hey, you know what? I used to give you all kinds of grief because you were on this all the time. Now I know why you like this so much. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's like addicting, man. It's a bad thing.
I'm into it. Hey, you've never been to my home office here. I got to tell you, I got this bat rack behind me. And there are exactly 2 real bats in there.
Okay.
I got one of yours, and I got a Dave Kingman bat.
Wow. A lot of swing and miss in those 2 guys.
Well, it's a lot of dingers in those 2 guys, too. And I got a lot of, and the rest of it's for show. 2 real bats. That's it.
It's always good to start a show with a little humble brag. got the great house. It looks like you're in a cabin log up in like Wyoming, but you're actually in New Jersey, as Kimberly just told us.
Yeah, my wife hates the fact that this place looks like an elk lodge, but I'm into the like wood and the outdoorsman look. So That's what we get. I win this time, and she'll win the next time.
I don't know about you, man, but I would do anything right now to be welcome to. Give me a little intro. Let's just get in the mood a little bit. Say we're in Chicago and it's Cubby's Yankee. So, Maddie, take it away.
Well, you know where we were supposed to be?
No, tell me.
You just mentioned it. We were supposed to be in Milwaukee for the second time in a month, and it was Cardinals Brewers tonight that we were supposed to get, which has turned into one of the better rivalries, I think, in baseball. So it would have
been so happy in Bruton.
Oh, you know what? We had a tailgate ready. You can't make this up. So we had a tailgate ready with this buddy of mine. We call him Jimmy Meat Wagon because he owns an ambulance company, Bell Ambulance. I'll give him a little plug. And he is the tailgate king of southern Wisconsin. and he was going to have this big tailgate thing set up. He was going to have the mayor of Milwaukee, the police chief. He was going to have all these dignitaries out there. He makes the brats in the beer. So you could have brought some Presidentes.
I love it.
We could have boiled up the brats, and it was going to be a big party, and we got robbed of it because of this shutdown.
Nothing's better than Dominican Presidente in Wisconsin. I love that.
Oh, my.
By the way,
Miller beer?
I got to admit this, Maddie. I've known you now for a long time. I don't think I've seen you as depressed as when the Brewers got eliminated last year in the postseason.
I was bummed about that.
You were bummed. You were anticipating a big moment because you thought Wisconsin was going to, like, embrace this so much.
I was bummed. I thought, and probably because of the way they lost. Remember, they lost, like, in this heartbreaking fashion. It was great for Nationals fans.
Right.
How they beat them in the 8th, and they got the hater. But that was as good a Brewers team as in your and my lifetime, with the exception of 1982, maybe. That was a great squad last year. So I love Council. I hope they come back this year.
I mean, look, they have as good as owner, general manager, and manager in baseball. They have a hella trifecta, and they're really set up really to be good, not only for the next few years, but I actually think for the next decade or so.
Yeah, I agree. Who since we're talking about it's still going to happen, I'm very confident we're going to play this year. But who are you looking at as like a sleeper team this year? Who did you think was going to maybe have a chance to surprise some people?
That's a great question. I was intrigued to see how the Padres were going to come out of the box. You know, they've had some big free agents, Hosmer, Machado. Be interesting to see how that looks. I was interested to see how the Nationals would bounce back. I actually think that this break gives those power arms a chance to, you know, catch their breath a little bit and come back in a big way. How about you? Let me turn that around on you.
I think the Twins are an easy kind of sexy thing to grab because they were good last year, but the Reds were the team that I thought were kind of poised to make a move this year. They bring in a couple of free agents in Castellanos and Moustakas for pennies on the dollar. Their pitching was really good. I thought they were going to be good this year. And now if we have, you know, a condensed schedule, which is a likelihood, this means that more teams are in play. So I think there's more intrigue around what can happen now, regardless of what plan they choose. More teams are going to be in it now. And I think there's a good chance that they expand the playoffs. So, you know, more teams are involved.
I'm excited.
Me too.
You look at the Angels, they bring in Rondon. They also have Ohtani coming back for a full year. You look at the Astros. The Astros should come back with a chip on their shoulder. They got a little break, but they want to make sure they show the world they can win games without trashing, you know, garbage cans. And I think they can. And they have Verlander and others. And the Dodgers, I think 7 division series in a row, they're looking to close this thing down and make sure they become world championships because they definitely have the goods.
Yeah, that team can't be a bridesmaid anymore, right? In that market, in that city, with that payroll, for all those reasons. Hey, you mentioned the Padres and Machado, and I know you're close with Manny. I'm not asking you to speak for him, but did he enjoy his first year in San Diego? Because, you know, when a guy travels to a new city who's only known one uniform, like for you, when you left Seattle, that's the only thing you ever knew.
Yeah. Sometimes
it can be great. Sometimes it can be not so great. How do you think he handled that first year?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him too much about that, but I know that from what I understand, he really, really liked the city. He liked the team. He liked where they're going. They have a lot of young talent. And look, you know better than anyone, it is hard to beat San Diego, especially in the summertime. Oh. And you're talking about a magnificent venue, kind of field of dreams. That's one of my favorite stadiums in all of baseball. So yeah, I think Manny's doing just fine.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, you know, I tried to make this a 3-way chat, and I tried to get a friend of yours on.
Who's
today.
Who's that?
He was busy. Big Papi was busy. So I got the next best thing. I couldn't get Big Papi, so I got Big Poppet. Hey, Alex, ¿qué lo que, baby?
I love it.
I go to the clubhouse after the game. I tell a manager, I go to the clubhouse. This is my big puppet here. We break him out every once in a while.
Oh, I love it. That's pretty good.
I used to know how to operate his arms. You know what I want to do one of these days? I want to sneak in behind you guys on the Fox set. You and Hurt and Poppy, and I want to bring Big Poppet with me and just drop him in there. Will they freak out, you think?
I would love that. That would be really good. Hey,
my man.
Maddie, here's a question. You've been in the game now. Has it been almost 29 years going back to your minor league days?
Oh man, yeah. My first year working in the minors was 91.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been in it a while. My question is, look, you have the voice, the knowledge, the work ethic, but if you weren't a broadcaster, what would Matt vasgersian be doing right now from Oakland, California?
Oh man, I don't know, because I was so singularly focused on getting a major league broadcasting job the whole time I was in the minors. Everything I did, it centered around, is this going to help me get a big league job? If so, let's do it. If not, not interested. I mean, I was so one-track minded back then. It was unbelievable.
When did that start, though? High school, junior high?
You know what? It didn't start until after my first year of working in the minors.
Wow.
Because that first year, I was moving to West Virginia kind of just to have a fun summer. And I realized, hey, maybe I could make a living doing this. Maybe this is how I could, build a career. And there's a lot of self-doubt along the way, just like for a player. Like, it's competitive. There aren't that many jobs, and you have to be at the right place at the right time. And I stumbled into some good situations. You'd like to think you create some of your situations, but some of them you're just lucky. And that's
was there
happened.
A broadcaster out there that you looked at, either one or two that maybe helped you and you learned from, and maybe one that you aspired to be like?
The one guy that helped me, he was my fairy godfather, man. He took care of me, was Ken Brett. And, Ken had a great career, and he has a more famous brother, but he was a great player and a really good announcer. And the Brett brothers owned a minor league team in Adelanto, California, out in the high desert. It was a Padres affiliate. And in 1992, I had just finished my first year. I was sending my tapes out to try to get another job. And Ken Brett heard my tape and championed me and advocated for me. And years later, in a really cool kind of baseball twist, he became my partner on Fox Sports Net. We ended up doing games together for a couple of years before he passed away. So, yeah, he was my guy, man.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Who is the ex-player for you? And I'll say this, besides Keith Hernandez, because I know you're a fan of Keith, who's the ex-player analyst that you have kind of patterned yourself or learned the most from?
Ex-player, but that I learned from, not as a player, but as an analyst.
Yeah,
I would say Tim McCarver. I love Tim McCarver. Part of it is, growing up watching the Mets, watching Kiner's Corner, watching McCarver and how strong of an opinion he had, which, by the way, did not make him popular in many major league clubhouses, but I think it made him accurate and great.
Yeah. Have you, we've never really talked about this, interestingly enough. Have you ever gotten any blowback from anybody, players, as to things you've said on TV?
Yeah, I've had some issues that, not so much from players, but from front offices that felt that it was too strong of an opinion. But, every time I've held my ground, and I thought that was something very important to do early on, that most people thought, well, here's a player that played for a long time. He played at a high level, and he's just going to shoe it in and not call it how it is. I mean, one of the things I liked about McCarver and Michael Kay and yourself and anybody who's done it at a high level is they played it fair but straight. And as long as you're not going like below the belt, I think that is absolutely your job, and that's what the people at home are expecting.
Yeah. The national games, and I get asked this occasionally, like, do you miss working for a team? And, the answer is yes, from this standpoint, that when you work for a team, you've got skin in the game and you can root a little bit. And I think, regional announcers that get criticized for being too biased, people that criticize them are missing the point. You work for that team. You're traveling with those guys. You have relationships with those guys. You want them to win. And there's a level of that, I think, that's acceptable on TV. You're not going to go over the top and disrespect the opponent, but it's okay to root a little bit. But when you're, like when we're doing Sunday nights, you're not rooting because, you're playing it right down the middle. And that's okay too.
Let me ask you a question. Growing up in Oaktown, give me like a handful of players that just you like that you would pay your money to get out to the stadium and go watch.
Oh, man. Well, in the early 70s teams, my early consciousness of baseball, it was Vita Blue. I mean, that Vita Blue, he was Muhammad Ali. He was Reggie. He was he was that transcendent athlete that I think today doesn't get enough credit. Vita was my favorite. Sal Bando ended up being a favorite. I ended up working for Sal in Milwaukee when he was the GM there. Terrific guy. Later on, the Ricky Henderson, Dwayne Murphy, Tony Armas outfield of the 80s. Mm-hmm. And by the way, those A's teams, man, I heard today that Matt Keogh passed away in his mid-60s. Super sad. He was a part of those Billy Martin staffs back then. And then, of course, like the Bash Brothers, like of all the teams, of all the players on those late 80s teams, my guy was Dave Henderson. He was my favorite from that group. And Carney Lansford.
From Seattle.
Seattle guy. That's right.
Boy, he was a clutch player. Good guy.
Did your paths ever cross?
Oh, yeah. He retired, and he would be, he's beloved in the Seattle Mariners organization because he played there some, and he was loved up in the Seattle area. Good guy, always happy, very confident, and my gosh, was he a clutch player.
I remember asking him, and this was when he had retired, he was a broadcaster. There used to be a sign in Oakland in center field that said Hinduland. And I used to wonder, like, is that just some fan of Dave Henderson? So I asked him as a broadcaster, we're in the lunchroom at Safeco Field. I'm like, hey, Dave, I grew up in Oakland. What was the Hinduland sign? What happened in Hinduland? And he looked at me serious. He goes, son, you don't want to know what happened in Hinduland. And he walked away. It was awesome, man. It was awesome.
Oh, man. I got a little rapid fire for you. You ready for a little
Okay, yeah, because I got something for you too.
All right, let's get it going here. What song does Matt sing in the shower?
Oh, right now it's nothing but The Who. My 5-year-old son is hooked on You Better You Bet, Who Are You, Boris the Spider, and My Generation. So it's all Who all the time in this house.
What apps are open on your iPhone right now?
I'll tell you that right now. Look, because of you in part, I'm on this Instagram thing now. Arlo, because I want to see who's coming to bother my daughters. What else? Pick Collage, because I was trying to put together something to post, and I'm really not good at it. And Spotify. That's it.
Top 3 books.
I'm looking at them right now. One is called Dynastic, Bombastic, Fantastic. It's about the early 70s A's. No coincidence. I'm also looking at Ken Harrelson's autobiography, Hawk. And on the other shelf, I'm in the middle. This sounds boring. I'm in the middle of a bio of Teddy Roosevelt. Okay,
nice.
Yeah.
What Maddie like coffee or tea?
Coffee guy. Multiple coffees.
Now this is I got to brace myself. Give me one of Maddie's pet peeves. I know there's a lot.
One of my pet peeves?
Yeah.
I don't like the misuse of the word aggression.
Oh, okay.
And especially sports analysts, right? You hear it a lot in, you're flipping around on any sport, and the analyst will say, he threw that pitch with such aggression. Aggression is anger. You mean to say aggressiveness, bro. That's
all right, here we go. What personality trait has gotten you in the most trouble?
Smart ass.
Favorite travel destination?
La Jolla, California. It's also the answer to where do you want to live?
Who would play you in a movie for your life?
Oh man. I'm trying to think of if there are any underachieving short Armenian actors out there. Get back to me on that one. I'll think of somebody. Rob
give you
Schneider from SNL. Rob Schneider.
Bam.
Okay.
One more, and then just one couple buzzwords here. What will your last meal be?
It'd be Armenian food. It'd be something ethnic.
Nice.
Like lahmacun or shish kebab, something like that.
I love it. Bring it back to the homeland.
Yeah.
One word to describe these 5 people. David Ortiz.
Legend.
Barack Obama.
I don't want to say legend again. Icon.
Tim McCarver.
Stud.
Aaron Rodgers.
Uber talented.
Joe Montana.
Not a 49ers fan. I mean, he was the greatest before Brady. That's not one word.
And by the way, they all have one thing in common. The last 3, aren't they? They're Bay Boys, right? They're up from the Bay.
That's right. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he's from Chico, I think, and I know he went to Cal. Yeah, for sure. You know what? But pound for pound, if you're going to win the talent game, you got to be from Miami. I mean, honestly, how many pro athletes? It's unbelievable. You watch an NFL game, and if you peel open a roster, 30% of the guys on the field are either from Miami, went to the U, or passed through there in some capacity.
Speaking of Miami, I've been watching. I'm obsessed with Cocaine Cowboy. 1, 2, and 3.
Well, what is that?
You got to watch it. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just basically how the Colombia drugs came through Miami and how it was distributed. It doesn't put Miami in the best light, but obviously that's the past life. But you should definitely watch it.
And this is what I wanted to ask you. What are you, because I know you're busy and you got kids running around and you guys are busy, but when you have a moment to sit in front of the TV, have you found anything on Netflix that you would not have found if you weren't spending so much time at home?
Yeah. Ozark. I love. Definitely love.
Haven't gotten into it yet.
I told you Cocaine Cowboy. I just started Billions again. What else are we watching? What is it? Lions King? Tiger King.
That guy's whack.
I've been watching The Last Dance, which starts in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
How about you? Anything good?
You know, we found this little show on Netflix called Friends from College, which regrettably only got 2 seasons in. Great cast, just something we stumbled into. We don't watch a lot of TV. We watch a lot of the Bravo garbage just because we have to have some noise on in the room while we're scrolling through emails and stuff. And, you know, guilty. I love it all. Real Housewives of New Jersey, Vanderpump Rules. I'm all about it. Summer House, which is the trashiest of all, but okay somehow. I'm into all that stuff.
Got it. Okay.
I wish I wasn't actually, but that's kind of how it is right now. How many? Since I've never done these before, I did one today on MLB.com. Do you actually answer the questions that come through? Because I got a question for you that I think I saw.
Yeah, no, they ask great questions, and we should actually answer a couple. But go ahead. If you saw a good one, let me know. Yeah,
and I was going to ask you this anyway. Have you followed up with any of the people that you've tried to rehabilitate financially on the CNBC show? And specifically, did Nicole Eggert keep the food truck, or was that a punt?
Did not punt.
It's too bad.
We are at the moment still working on Evander Holyfield's contract to get it out to protein bars, to get it out there in gyms, because we think it just fits his brand so well. And Evander Holyfield, I mean, you're talking about a class act. I mean, terribly sad story. Obviously, we're talking about Back in the Game, my show on CNBC.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that one was. I got to tell you, from a viewer's standpoint, that was not an easy one to watch, because man, it's just so hard to imagine that a guy who had the world right there was so taken advantage of, so terribly taken advantage of for such a long time. Yeah. Very hard to watch. Yeah. How did those people come to you, the guests on the show?
So they come through the producers at CNBC. They basically, the first one ever was Joe Smith from Maryland, who was the #1 pick in 1994.
Yep.
Joe had a great career, made over $61 million. That was the hardest one. Then once they saw that we were actually helping out and there was nothing to be ashamed of, it's something that we wanted to come back and lean in and help out and create processes that actually help them protect themselves from themselves and others. Then we have a list now probably of over 100 that we can pick from for season 2. Yeah.
Wow. How many episodes for season 2?
We're going back and forth between 8 and 10, something like that, but probably 8.
It's a good show, man. I'm not just saying that because you're my friend and we're doing this right now. It's good. Like my parents watched that show and have enjoyed it. And my parents, they'll tell me if they don't like something. They're like, "That's a pretty good show." I'm like, yeah, it is good.
Thanks, Maddie. It's something that I'm really, really proud of. I mean, look, it can happen to anyone. And, Evander is a perfect example, a guy who made over $260 million and has gone through a lot of financial issues, but he just didn't have the right team around him to protect him. So it feels good to help out and give back.
I bet. Let's get back to baseball here for a sec. And we'll say this because we have almost 600 people on this thing right now. Neither one of us have any inside information. To make that very clear, that I don't have the bat phone to the commissioner's office, nor does Alex. This is all our speculation. I am hopeful that June is when guys can report to camp, and that July is when we'll actually be watching baseball games. And whether there's fans in the ballpark or not is not relevant. For me, it's just getting them back on the field and giving everybody a little hope and something to watch and maybe a slow return to normalcy. Have you talked to a lot of current players, guys that are out there in uniform? What are they doing now?
Yeah, I've talked to players, coaches, some managers, and, I think everyone feels exactly how you just described it. Everyone wants, players want to play, fans want to watch, but obviously we have to make sure that, this COVID-19, it will dictate to us when we play, not the other way around. Guys going out and swimming, running, biking, playing catch with their siblings, playing catch with their wives, hitting in their living room. There was that one video where I forget who it was, but they were hitting tees in their apartment, which was kind of cool. So I mean, all over the place. But I do think that I'm starting to see a lot of pitchers starting to throw a little bullpen, and people know it's getting warm. And I think mentally, look, I think this year gives us an opportunity of a lifetime for the game. Anything that we've thought about, anything disruptive that we haven't done the last 5 or 10 years, man, you might as well let it fly. Let us see every single batting cage. Yes. Let us hear every conversation. Go so out. I mean, this is an opportunity to give the fans everything we haven't given. Just empty the bucket. And I will say a note to the traditionalists, this is not your year. So we apologize ahead of time. And whatever sticks, you can bring it to 21. If it was too out there, just eliminate it and say, hey, 2020 had an asterisk on it anyways.
That's a great line. Traditionalists, this is not your year. Just, you know what? Just take a pass on this. Let it all come to you. Whether it's robotic strike zone, which I personally am not in favor of. But again, in this climate, you have to at least open your mind to something that might expedite play. Expanded playoffs, I think, is a slam dunk, given what's happened right now. Because I like the idea for the expanded playoff format even before the pandemic, where it becomes almost more like an NHL or NBA playoffs, more teams in the dance. It's pretty aggressive to think that the teams with the best overall records could choose their opponent, but that was a part of the proposal. I think a lot of fans liked it. Some didn't. It was polarizing, but that's okay. But yeah, to your point, like anything that they've thought of now, like nobody's bitching about the 3-batter minimum.
Right.
Because and think about it, without the 3-batter minimum, you're going to have to play games now with expanded rosters most likely. And if managers had 14-man bullpens,
oh man,
every game would be like September.
That's right.
Oh, we'd grind, right? It'd be kind of hard. But now you got to get 3 guys out, or at least get to the end of the inning. I like the 3-batter minimum. I know I might be in the minority on that one, but I like it.
Listen, I love it, and I love anything disruptive. I love anything contrarian. I think we have an opportunity to say, hey, let's go out and try to be like the NBA, like the NFL, like soccer, anything, esports, you name it. Baseball is the greatest game in the world, and I think we have an opportunity There may not be fans in the audience, but I never understood, Maddie, why we're seeing, Mariano Rivera or Kenley Jensen warming up in the bullpen. But we have Aaron Judge, who's not playing. He's warming up in the batting cage. Why not let the fans at home see, like, oh, my goodness, in the 8th or 9th inning, we may see this, Goliath versus Goliath. Instead, we have to hope and guess. The batting cage, to me, you have 60 batting cages. They're 60 of our greatest assets. There is nothing better. If you want to fall in love with Major League Baseball, watch Aaron Judge, Stanton, Mike Trout, Manny Machado, you name it, in a batting cage. The sound, the feel, the smell. If you get to see this from home or in your app, my goodness, that's what we need to be doing.
I love that idea. That almost, when you started describing that, it almost felt like, and say what you will about the WWE,
in the box.
Do that. They do that dramatic stuff well. Yeah, right. Like, okay, your team's down by 1, and Mike Trout, to use your example, didn't start because he had a groin. But look who's in the cage.
Oh,
he's down, and that's your Willis Reed moment, right? It just turns into this drama thing that would be great.
Well, I mean, imagine Kenley Jansen warming up here and Mike Trout warming up here, and you say, folks, we'll be right back. We might have an epic battle. And again, we have to remember, Maddie, that we are in the entertainment business. And I would love to hear sound, right? Because, I mean, if you're a fan at home and you're thinking of turning off the TV and you see Mike Trout just got up and Kenley Jansen just got up and you're hearing sound, I mean, it is hard not to come back to that. And I think, in many ways, sometimes we're playing with one hand tied behind our back. The game is so great. Expose it. We are in an era, as the Kardashians have taught us, more is more. And if you don't believe us, folks, talk to our children. They're hungry for more. We are the king of more because we play 162 games. Let's ninja this whole thing, and let's make our greatest weakness our biggest strength.
Yeah, man, you make a great point, and I'm on board with all that. And then the question becomes, who's pushing back on that, right? It's the kind of older mindset. It's the PA, and I get it. They're trying to protect their constituents. I understand that. It's noble. But everybody needs to understand that the growth that we all kind of need, it's right there. It's right there. How do we take the game to the next level from a presentation standpoint? Access. Allow us to do what we do and build the drama and create the stars, but you have to give us the access. And that's why I know you feel the same way. Like when we ask players to wear mics and we get, a number of them to cooperate, it makes such a difference for what we do. And by the way, I'm a fan of yours now. You wore the mic on Sunday Night Baseball?
Yeah.
You took the collar the night before? I might forget it. I might not even mention that you're in an 0 for 15.
That's a good point.
I'm going to campaign for you to go to Cooperstown. You wore the mic for us.
That's right. Here's another thing is, the thing that I took away from spring training was Anthony Rizzo getting mic'd, and he was having so much fun. He was talking about, hitting and this and that. I thought it was great. It shows personality. And look, here's how I feel about the PA. The PA's number one goal is, their number one idea is they have to protect the players. So assuming you protect the players, assuming you can find in today's technology, 2020, a way to have a delay with sound and with visual, maybe it's a 5 or 10 second delay. But if the way to grow the game is to reveal stories and get to know our players, if we can go from $10.7 billion a year to $15 billion annually, there's no better way to protect players than with their pockets.
It's really true. And, there's subtle ways that players can promote themselves. Carlos Delgado was the master at waiting until the very last moment to put his helmet on when he left the on-deck circle. Because everybody got to see his beautiful face, man. Like, he was an eloquent guy.
Great smile, yeah.
Yeah, great smile. That was okay. But, a guy can only promote himself so much. You do need the help of the league or the broadcasters to kind of finish the job that way. I mean, I don't know. Your career would not have been any different with or without media access. But there are probably players that you played with in the late 90s, early 2000s, who may have either gone on to do things differently post-career, if they had a little bit more recognition, guys without the numbers that you had, without the talent, you know, that guy might need the extra play.
Maddie, I was very lucky because I entered the league in 1994 as an 18-year-old rookie. But I was playing, my teammate was 6 years older, and he was the Michael Jordan of baseball, Ken Griffey Jr. And with that came tremendous national exposure. And then I went to Texas, and I became the highest paid player in the game. So it was very polarizing. And then, of course, I ended up in New York. So there was a polarizing for good or bad, pros and cons that kind of followed me through my entire career. Not every player has that luxury to play with the greats or to play with, you know, for George Steinbrenner and the Steinbrenner family in New York. But I do think that you make a great point. And the point is that individually you can do some small things here and there. There is nothing more powerful than collectively everybody coming together and pushing that ball forward. And I think this year is going to be a real blessing in disguise for baseball in the long haul.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around how logistically they're going to move groups of 50 people here and there for 3-game series, because, you know, the traveling party, it's more than just the players on the roster. Between 50 and 60 people, that's probably right. Yeah. So you've got to deal with that logistically. That's not easy to do. And that's, I think, what they're dealing with now. That's what they're planning.
Hey, Maddie, before I go and I have to wash my dishes because Jennifer's telling me it's time to go, here's one question for you.
Yeah.
On Sunday Night Baseball, I can't wait to see you, my partner. My question to you is, are they going to put us like, is Mark and Phil going to put us one in right field bleachers, one in left field bleachers?
There's going to be a glass.
Moses in center?
Moses is on here, by the way. I saw him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's watching SNY, and he's got this up. There's going to be a glass partition between us. We'll be wearing masks and surgical gloves. And if you can understand what we're saying, fine. If not, that's fine too.
Listen, anytime you get to put a mask on this face is good for ratings, baby.
Same. Good to see you, bro.
Thanks, man. This was fun.
Yeah, man. Let's do it again. Tell your group I said hi. You got good people there, your family, your group, your team. Tell them all hello. I hope I get to see everybody soon.
Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
There it is. Time to do the dishes at the A-Rod's house.
Enjoy, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Family for me.
I'll do it, man. Thanks, bud.
Right. See you, buddy.
See ya.